Let me share with you why it's beautiful to observe and see people truly for exactly what they are. No matter what they have to offer, what kind of skill set they may try to introduce themselves with, observe and see and remember. Don't deny yourself, or else you're part of that foolishness to vouch for somebody that has no honor. So let me tell you what happened. Alright? So first of all, I'm in the sauna. You know what I mean? A while ago, right? The guy starts mentioning like how the kids got all the rights in schools. You know what I mean? Like, what you mean by that? He goes, yeah, I'm a teacher at a school, and a kid put his hand in his pocket. I said, why don't you pull his hand out? He goes, oh, I get in trouble for that. Liar. You know what I mean? I said, what'd you do? He goes, I was kind of courteous and said, let me know when you find your keys. That dude's a pedophile right there, straight up. He's already telling you. So now weeks go by. I distance myself from this dude. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to say what's up to that dude or nothing. Next thing you know, I'm working on the bag. He tries to like claim me for some reason. Oh, let me show you how to do the power jab and this and that, right? I look at him and go, nobody even invited you over here, man. Who you talking to? You know? But he don't get it. He really don't get it. You know what I mean? You have to like force him to understand. You know what I mean? So he may even be a judge for a boxing group. He may have been an amateur, this and that, or a prison fighter or whatever. You know what I mean? Still, if I can't take a picture next to you, I don't care if you got skills of Bruce Lee and you got that background on you, some type of sex offender, or you tolerate that type of business, or you even share that type of information. And I mean, you're already on the way out, you know? So, for some reason, he had all the excuses in the world to not get it. You know what I mean? He didn't get it to where you gotta literally tell him, you know what I mean? And force him to get it without touching this rat, you know? So, he wanted to go and say, oh, you know, let's start all over. Bro, normally, and he's old man, you know what I mean? Like, he claims to be 75 years old. He can still move around, but you got a defense drive around that, because once his head hits the ground, that's manslaughter. You know what I mean? And sometimes these people put themselves in this position to send you off to jail on your own if you don't control yourself, right? He got a metal leg, you know what I mean? You know, probably from something else, but he could move around. He could shift his weight, you know. He was trying to show me the power jab from a distance. You know what I mean? I'm looking at him going, who's this guy talking to? You know, so I'm looking at him going, oh, he can move around like that? Okay, so I gotta treat him like he's some kind of handicapped elderly person if I'm forced to, you know, deal with him, because for some reason he don't get it. So what he was trying to do was this. First of all, he tried to throw you a hint inside the sauna and try to say, yeah, I play with little kids, dog. You know what I mean? Straight up. And he's some kind of mixed Hawaiian guy or something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at him going, you know, but in the locker room I told him, bro, you're a pedophile, you're a sex offender, huh? Oh no, I'm not none of that. You know what I mean? But why would you allow a kid, you know what I mean, put his hand in your pocket, and that's your excuse to say, oh, come and look for my keys, let me know when you find my keys? You know what I mean? That's already let me know, you know? And my uncles get rid of those people like that on sight, and they're his age. You know what I mean? So, you know, they don't care if your head hits the ground. They like that. You know what I mean? They want that to happen to you. And plus, they run the prison system, so that's their life. You know what I'm saying? But you can't go and, just because someone may introduce themselves under some shadow disguise or try to some form of friendship or some type of, oh, I could show you this, show you that. Look at their background. Remember what things that they told you in the past and have it all add up. So now I look at it like this. This fool told me that in the sauna weeks ago or months ago. And now he's trying to approach me. So he's planning this idea of watching me and observing me to try to, you know, claim me in terms of like, oh, I like what he's doing, so I'm going to show him a move or two. I'm going to tell everybody in the gym, that's my guy right there. Nah, bro, you crazy. You know what I mean? Does he go here anymore? I didn't tell him not to come here no more, but he don't go here no more. You know what I mean? His license plate is 666. See that? You know what I mean? You know, my uncles and cousins already like, yeah, boy, we're gonna find that guy. You know what I mean? I don't like him anyway. It has nothing to do with you no more. I said, all right, I'll get out the way, bro. Let you guys handle your business. You know what I mean? You know? But I'm telling you, you cannot go and ignore somebody's background. You gotta have everybody vouch nowadays. They trying to sneak out of the woodworks and all this stuff. You gotta have it validated. Let me see your paperwork. Let me see what you are. You know what I mean? You know, too many people got that background rap, and they try to mingle with people. You know what I mean? He tried to take kindness for weakness. I can't believe the dude was even sharing that type of information. You know what I mean? In Asana, which means that he's proud of that type of interaction with people. So if he's trying to manipulate me as a grown man, imagine what he's doing to little kids. That's why I had to get him like that. But it ain't over yet, because they go like this, bro. That dude, man, we know that guy. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? So do not play, take kindness for weakness, and think that somebody needs money in this place. You know what I mean? Because they're already rich, well off, and you start sharing your personal information. We take that consideration because that's what we do. Man, we don't care about people, you know, whether they got skills or background. We don't play no sports. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, and what happens a lot of times, people want to come up and volunteer their personal information with me, not knowing that the little homies, I know them, you know? So yeah, you open your mouth about their business and they don't want you to, man, it's supposed to be all private what you guys are doing. But you sharing people like that, like so open, yeah, they're going to keep you real, real close, rock you to sleep, and get you off camera and bury you with them roosters, you know what I mean? So you crazy trying to think that, you know, you got any type of, you know, whatever background impression you got, because the people that deal with the reality of life could care less about your sports. You know what I mean? They run institutions where the warden's afraid. You know what I mean? And they make it like, yeah, you know what I mean? That's what we do. You know what I mean? They could care less about their freedom. They do what's in their heart, and they stay free and honored for life. You know? So not too long ago, some guy goes, you're embarrassing people here by shining too hard, you're looking too good. So what you want me to do then, Mr. Gossip, man? Because you know gossip's all a form of cowardice. I'm telling this guy through the cage, you know what I mean? You know, and he's bowing down already. He thought he could go ahead and try to manipulate the situation. So, you know, now that he's on the radar, you know what I mean? And he claimed Native American too, so anyways, he comes here all the time. So he got the idea yesterday, but he's gonna get the idea every day. You know what I mean? And you know, whatever you do, just don't let these fools come at you and try to vouch for you, try to present themselves in a way without really checking them out. All you gotta do is sit back and listen. They'll volunteer information or tell you without you even saying anything. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest problem, you know, that, and you think you really trust people like that? Someone try to holler at me and say, hey, you know what I mean, you're a friend, you know what I mean, this and that, you know, not knowing how pimped out I made this place, you know what I mean, but to do what? Protect all the people from negligence that are being heavily practiced in this situation, you know, to definitely protect the children, because kids are up in this mug, you know what I mean, stuff like that, and for people that want to brag and have that type of attitude, they're going to realize they're going to slide out of this place and never come back on their own. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to assassinate nobody. Let them assassinate themselves.